Sometimes the best videos are the ones that are easy. Sometimes when I do these videos, talking about a team that is very, 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 very bad is easier than talking to the team that are, you know, top 30% good and then the top 10 and the top 5, and some are better than that. So it's very hard to talk about the good teams and asking, what do they really need, but they were so good. It's so much easier to talk about a team that was so bad that you wonder, yeah, this will be easier. Because everything they need, they need. But there are some teams that make bad choices and you wonder, so you want to stay bad. Now, granted, when it comes to the draft, we don't want everyone to be bad, so it's really hard to look at a draft class and say, that draft just stunk. You can't really say it because we don't know. We have seen so many great players stink, and so many mediocre players become Hall of Famers, or become better, or their character issue is actually in your head. So, hey everybody, I'm Cortez, and I'm a critic, and welcome back. We're concluding the AFC South by talking about the Tennessee Titans. That's right, Tennessee, yeah. And no, they got a new logo, and the hat's too expensive, and in this economy and inflation, the hat probably costs as much as buying a suite for the new stadium that they built. Yay! So we're gonna go with retro, because this is technically retro now, cheap hat, for a little bit while longer until maybe I get lucky at a Salvation Army sale or something. But until then, the Tennessee Titans, you, my friends, let's talk. So like I said before, talking about a bad team is easier because more than likely it's very obvious what they need. Quarterback, receiver, tackle, linebacker, corner. It's easy. But some teams are kind of bad that they kind of need everything. So now the conversation comes, what do they really need? And as high as number 4, they need to basically almost be like, we don't need that. We would like that. And then when it comes out that there are multiple options on the table, they really have to consider, what do we do with that? And I think for the Tennessee's sake, they could go no wrong. So, with the 4th overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Tennessee Titans selected Carnell Tate, wide receiver, The Ohio State. I can literally see every argument for other players. I can see it for Francis, the tackle. I can see it for Bain, the edge. I can see it for the corner. I can see it for literally everyone. Even Kenya Sadiq, the tight end from Oregon, I can see the argument there. It's a very small argument, but still an argument nonetheless. I felt, and I said this, and this is why the Saints did this year and the Panthers did last year, where sometimes you kind of need to give your quarterback that you drafted, regardless where, a new toy. That's why when Carnell Williams got Roma Doomsday, it was like, duh. And Joe Burrow, they got him Chase. Baker Mayfield, they got him Mbuka. Even though he had Evans and got him. But still, the point's still there. Give him a new toy. Panthers got McMillan. So, and Tyler Shaw, they got their own. But that's for the Saints for another time. So, in a weird way, you kind of felt like regardless how good the offensive line, regardless how good the defense, if your quarterback still has no receivers, then it means nothing if everything else is good, but the main focus of your quarterback passing the ball, because let's be real, Tennessee fans, do you really feel that Cam Ward is going to be that quarterback that can turn B-, C+ receivers into A's? Sometimes that's coaching and scheme that works, sometimes it doesn't. But when in doubt, get the best one out there. And Cardinal Tate to me is probably the best receiver. I will probably go with Lemon though from the USC guy, but that's my personal opinion. But Cardinal Tate has been proven since day one at Ohio State, and it was such an obvious choice that Tennessee wanted to give him. And if Jeremiah Love was there, I don't think that would have been the choice. So I felt like it was wide receiver, if heaven forbid, not defensive edge. I think that was honestly the two choices. Yes, you could have made an argument for the other position, but I felt like it was either receiver, edge, and maybe offensive tackle as a third choice. But I really felt like that was going to be the case. So they got what they needed. But they still need to address defense. And lo and behold, they traded back in. They got one. With the 31st pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Tennessee Titans selected Keldrick Falk, edge, Auburn. Now, going back to the segment that some of you have seen, if you have not seen, you only watch for your own team, then hey, Falk was a player that a lot of mock draft had, because I live in Tampa, I'm a Bucks fan, that the Bucks were considering him. And then I heard some very strong reporters of Buccaneers who have been doing it for over 25 years saying, I don't want him. I don't want him. And we Buccaneer fans have had our share of great player, didn't work out. Noah Spence, Joe Troshinka. Sometimes it doesn't work out. As high they are, it sometimes doesn't work out for us. It's the sadness of all draft picks, not just the NFL, NBA, baseball, NHL, you name it. Getting a young player to see how they adapt to the big game, and can they still be as a big threat they were during their lower level games, high school, college, you name it. But this is a case where I feel like Tennessee would take the gamble on the risk because, let's be real, they needed to address the pass rush. And if Falk proves that his last year's success was not just a fluke in the wind, but promising, then let's be thankful that I think Tennessee could potentially got two big home run hitters to go from a potential 6 to 7 win team to maybe even to a 9-win team. Okay, that's been very optimistic. We don't know what the preseason, this regular season is going to be. But I'm just saying that if Tate and Falk hit, that's going to take a lot of pressure off the second-year players, including their quarterback, next year. So I understand the skepticism of Falk, but I am very positive that what if it works? What if it works? We can always say what if it doesn't, because that's like 90% of all arguments. What if it sucks? What if they don't do it? Let's be positive. What if Falk works? Because they were not done. I feel like they got two big home runs. And I think they were not done. They got a triple in this case. In the second round, with the 60th overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Tennessee Titans selected Anthony Hill Jr., linebacker, Texas. Hook 'em horns. Let's go back to what I've been saying in the past. When it comes to linebackers inside-wise, Hill was another player that was on the Buccaneers' potential list of linebackers. And I have nothing against Hill. I think Hill was a fantastic pickup. And it was a need for Tennessee, but I didn't feel like they overextended themselves to get the pick. I think Hill is a tackling machine. And sometimes you want fundamental tackling versus look at the splashy plays. Look what he can do. He can sack quarterback, intercept it, and also kick the field goal and paint your back porch. No, we don't need that from him. We need solid fundamentals. And for a Tennessee defense that really is Simmons, which by the way, time of this recording, he get an extension, so congrats to you, dude. This is just, he is, to be at 60 is just on the cusp of being first round, second round pick, and he's top 40, he's 86th grade, and he's third in his position. I feel like Tennessee got another massive steal, because there could have been a chance that he could have been gone before that. But Tennessee hit two major home runs in the first round, and then go in the second round and hit another grand slam with this one. So Tennessee, they're making the right choice. Like I said, when your team is really bad, sometimes it's easy to make it, but just addressing the position is different than addressing the player quality in that position. And I feel like Tennessee has hit it on all three cases: the receiver, the edge, and the linebacker. Yes, I know I have speculation on Falk, but I'm very optimistic about him. Plus, looking back at Falk, he was the fourth best in his position. So cry me a river, would you? And I'm just curious before we get to the next one. Um, they currently have Falk in a 4-3 defense behind John Franklin Meyer. That's not a problem. Rotation sounds good. And they have Anthony Hill behind Cody Barton, who's been a good. Cody Barton has been a good solid linebacker. He has traveled himself around, so he's a well-rounded, well filled out player. He's been here, he's been there. I've been everywhere. I'm good. I've been everywhere. So Anthony Hill have a good, and I believe he'll get a rotation before you know it. And who knows, maybe even get package schemes. Now we have addressed probably the big pressing needs, but they still strike gold in this one. In the 5th round of all places, with the 142nd pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Tennessee Titans selected Fernando Camarona, offensive guard, Arkansas. I had, when I was at the academy, I had a physics professor who taught honor and advanced physics. And he was a submariner. And he had a very strong accent in Arkansas. And he would always love his Razorbacks. And it was so funny for a guy that was a submariner, a professor, physics, and from Arkansas. And was very proud to bring it with him, Arkansas. It was just like, you just go against all the stereotypes. Everyone. Navy, submariner, professor, Arkansas, physics. You just go against all the grain. That being said, I think Fernando. This guy is 6'5", 316. Are they going to keep him at guard? Yeah, they currently have him behind Peter Sikorsky, the left guard. 6'5", 316. That's sometimes the time you see that size for a tackle. And he's playing interior. Yes, his grade and position may not be great, but I am telling you, this guy's a 4-year starter. Time playing in college has to count for something. You can have 1 or 2 good years and definitely 1 great year, but a 4-year starter screams that you were basically the dude. You were him. You were the guy at 18, maybe even 19, but definitely 18. And you went 4-year starting. That has to count for something. So I'm looking on that this guy was a starter. It was Arkansas. I don't care if it was Arkansas State. I don't care if it was Southern Methodist Arkansas Community College. That's not real, but if it is, I'm a psychic. But a 4-year starter has to count for something. That has to count for something. So that's why I feel like they got a steal. Maybe not the ranking wise, but they got a steal of a veteran player, and I'm going to give that more credit than just, he was a star player for 1.5 years. No. Give me the 4-year start, especially in the offensive lineman position, which means he's learned to develop, he learns to progress, he learns to advance, and he learns to, sharpen his craft. So to me, yeah. I'm very excited for Tennessee. And I say another good hit. And then, still in the 5th round, with the 165th pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Tennessee Titans selected Nicholas Singleton, running back, Penn State. I am going to be very mean, but I feel like the failures of Penn State, record, injuries, you name it, whatever, just the down year of Penn State hurted basically every player on Penn State's potential draft status. After the year before to this year, it hurt. It hurt everyone. Every draft stocks dropped. Now that could be a perfect deceive. They don't take you seriously. You go to potentially a contender team. You're not necessarily going to a loser team, and then you blow up, and then be like, well, that last time they played in college was a fluke, so we can ignore that. But Nicholas was that 2-headed monster they had at Penn State. Remind me of the good old days of Ronnie Brown and Carnell, aka Cadillac Limb of Auburn. Just a 1-2 pump, pa 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 pa. And Tony Pollard, he's a veteran. He has been in this league for a long time. I'm not saying he's a scrub. No one's saying that. But we all know that, You don't want to wear down the tires, as they say. And they recently, they drafted a guy named Spears out of Tulane back in 2023, a third-round pick. So, but I can't help but feel like Nicholas is an added juice for Tennessee. Not to mention he didn't get the full attention at Penn State. So he's not 100% worn down tired like most running backs in college. And I feel like for him dropping is like it's like finding the freshest fruit in a basket of kind of bruised apples. You're just like, this apple's pretty good, and no one noticed it. Well, it was in the pile of bad apples, so we kind of ignored it. So I think this is another steal for Tennessee because I am very optimistic of the upside. He's still ranked 4th in his position, even though his overall grade and ranking were not good. But like I said, if you're still top 10 in your position, I take that over overall rank and your grade. Because to me, sometimes the game dictates more than what you do at combines and what you do at the university. Sometimes what you can do on the field, and that's what the Tennessee Titans will dictate. So to me, this is a steal for me. Then we go to the 6th round with the 184th pick in the 2026 NFL Draft. The Tennessee Titans selected Jackie Marshall, defensive tackle, Baylor. Now, like I said, Simmons got his big money rightfully deserved. And they go to a 4-3 defense. So my thought process is, when it comes to the Tennessee defensive line, Simmons is the one guy I can think of. Maybe at one time it was Casey. But over that, looking at it, I mean, they get Jeremiah Johnson. I thought that was pretty cool. John Franklin Myers, I still remember him. But everyone else just feels like we got some players. And the thing is that Jackie Marshall is viewed as the defensive tackle backup. So, not bad to be a mentor by a great player that was also drafted, who was taking a risk back in the day. By the way, if you hear that in the background, yes, there are people cutting the grass outside my home, so forgive me for the noise. So, yeah, it'd be kind of fun to edit around. But I feel like this is a good depth. Yes, Simmons got his money. But I think Simmons is pushing, what is he? He's pushing 30. Okay, yeah, he's 28 years old. He was a 19th overall pick, first round pick back in the day. But he's reaching the age of 30. He got a 4-year contract. So this is obviously meant to be, let's give him longevity, let's give him depth, but also development. This may not be the highest praise, but sometimes development and depth and rotation might be a strong win for Tennessee as well. Then we go to still in the 6th round, 10 picks later, with a 194th pick in the 2026 NFL Draft. The Tennessee Titans selected Pat Coogan, center, Indiana. The guy that protected Fernando Mendoza. That a center? Oh, that gotta be exciting. And they currently have him as the backup center behind Austin in the depth chart. It's okay. Development, rotation. Maybe move to guard. Who knows? But centers are a quarterback's best friend. And I'm sure him learning. I mean, let's be real. Cam Ward was a Heisman Trophy candidate. Fernando Mendoza was a Heisman Trophy winner. So let's give Pat credit. He knows how to protect a Heisman winner, a Heisman caliber quarterback. He'll be fine. Will he start right away? Probably not. But still, the potential's high. The depth is there. Maybe he changes. Who knows? But to me, solid acquisition pickup. No complaints here. Then we conclude in the 7th round with the 225th overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft. The Tennessee Titans selected Jared Kakin. Kanak. If I pronounce that right. Tight end, Oklahoma. So we got a tight end. Kind of a tiny tight end. He's only 6'2", 234, so probably more of a thick receiver. And there's the kicker. He spent most of his time at Oklahoma as a linebacker and then switched to tight end in 2025. So I'm going to say it. I think he is meant to be an H-back blocking tight end, probably meant to open holes. Hey, we Buccaneers, we have a Cole Kmet, who is a tight end, but we use him basically as a blocking fullback. They put him in the backfield, he goes and goes, out routes, but mainly he's a blocker. So maybe that's what they see for Jaron, is that he will just be an H-back blocking, special team contributor, potential's there. And let me see, do Tennessee even address it? Yeah, Jaron is viewed as the fourth string, and I'm going to say that he's probably meant to be that fullback, H-back hybrid position. Blocker, situational, short yardage, goal line. That will be his MO. He develops well, but not bad for a guy who played linebacker for 3 years, and then in his fourth year, played a completely different position on the opposite side of the football, and then to still be viable enough to be drafted. That shows his ability to learn, adapt very quickly, and maybe that's a positive. That's why I took a chance on him. Is like he learns quickly. Let's utilize that. He was effective. Fine. And that is the Tennessee draft class. The player I am most excited about. Ooh, this is a good one because there's a lot of good ones. I'm gonna go the one that I feel like is a steal, and I'm gonna go with Nicholas Singleton. I think the running back of Penn State is the player I'm most excited about. Not because he's going to overthrow Tony Pollard. I'm just saying that even in situationals, he knows how to work with other running backs. And I believe him falling is a blessing for Tennessee. Because, yes, that Penn State team looked really bad last year. But I think Nicholas Singleton is a bright spot in a very dark and gritty Penn State year. So I think Nicholas will be a perfect, diamond in the rough for Tennessee. Grade I give the Titans. It's obviously better. I can't say contenders. I can say needs not yet. This team is much better. Like I said, a lot of it is based on the players they drafted. They got a lot of home runs here. They got a lot of good players. And some may not even start right away. But I will not be surprised if literally every one of these players is playing this year. And that includes Pat. Not because of injuries, but I feel like they might find a way to get him involved somehow. Extra blocker in the backfield for short yardage, whatever. Jaron, same thing. Situational, pro style, offense, they'll find a place for you. I will not be surprised if every one of these players plays, and I mean like multiple game plays. Not just, they have one play here every 3 games. No. This is probably one of the few draft classes where I feel like everyone's going to play. And not just special team, but like actually play on the respected side of the ball. And that is the Tennessee Titans. And that concludes the AFC South. And now we're going to go to the North. We're going to the NFC East. And we're going to go to, another team that's kind of blue, a little bit darker. We're going to New York, which by the time is recording, the Knicks have won the NBA Finals a few days ago. But so we're going to New York to celebrate the Giants. Hopefully there's no conflict in my recording when I said this now. But that's for another time. But until then, I'm Cortez and I'm a critic. Thank you so very much for watching.